Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prasatya Desha Tarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 24. The renunciation of Kardama Muni. We'll read text 7, 8, 9, and 10. Translations, purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We can skip translation. What do you mean? You don't need translation. Good. Very good. That's easier. Avadayam stada vyomni Varitrani gana gana Gayanti tangsma gandharva Nrityantyapsaraso muda Avadayam stada vyomni Varitrani gana gana Gayanti tangsma gandharva Nrityantyapsaraso muda Avadayam stada vyomni Varitrani gana gana Gayanti tangsma gandharva Nrityantyapsaraso muda. Avadayan sounded. Tada at that time. Vyomni in the sky. Varitrani musical instruments. Gana gana the rain clouds. Gayanti sang. Tam to him. Sma certainly. Gandharva the Gandharvas. Nrityanti danced. Apsarasa the Apsaras. Muda in joyful ecstasy. Translation. At the time of his, Kapila Deva's, descent on earth, demigods in the form of raining clouds sounded musical instruments in the sky. The celestial musicians, the Gandharvas, sang the glories of the Lord, while celestial dancing girls, known as Apsaras, danced in joyful ecstasy. Text 8. Pitu sumanaso divya ke charair apavarjitaha praseduscha disha sarva abhangsicha manangsicha. At the time of the Lord's appearance, the demigods flying freely in the sky showered flowers. All the directions, all the waters, and everyone's mind became very satisfied. Purport. It is learned herewith that in the higher sky there are living entities who can travel through the air without being hampered. Although we can travel in outer space, we are hampered by so many impediments, but they are not. We learn from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam that the inhabitants of the planet called Siddhaloka can travel in space from one planet to another without impediment. They showered flowers on the earth when Lord Kapila, the son of Kardama, appeared. Text 9. Tat kardamam ashrama padam sarasvatya parishritam swayambhush sakam rishivir marityadivir avayat. Brahma, the firstborn living being, went along with Marichi and other sages to the place of Kardama's hermitage, which was surrounded by the river Saraswati. Purport. Brahma is called Swayambhu because he is not born of any material father and mother. He is the first living creature and is born from the lotus, which grows from the abdomen of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Garbhodakashai Vishnu. Therefore he is called Swayambhu, self-born. Text 10. Bhagavantam parang brahma sattvenang shena shatruhan tattva sankyanya vigyaptyai jatam vidvan ajak swarat. Maitreya continued, O killer of the enemy, the unborn Lord Brahma, who is almost independent in acquiring knowledge, could understand that a portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his quality of pure existence had appeared in the womb of Devahuti just to explain the complete state of knowledge known as Sankhya Yoga. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, it is stated that the Lord himself is the compiler of Vedanta Sutra, and he is the perfect knower of Vedanta Sutra. Similarly, the Sankhya philosophy is compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his appearance as Kapila. There is another imitation Kapila who has a Sankhya philosophical system, but Kapila, the incarnation of God, is different from that Kapila. Kapila, the son of Kardama Muni, in his system of Sankhya philosophy, very explicitly explained not only the material world, but also the spiritual world. Brahma could understand this fact because he is Svarat, almost independent in receiving knowledge. He is called Svarat because he did not go to any school or college to learn, but learned everything from within. Because Brahma is the first living creature within this universe, he had no teacher. His teacher was the Supreme Personality of God and himself, who is seated in the heart of every living creature. Brahma acquired knowledge directly from the Supreme Lord within his heart. Therefore, he is sometimes called Svarat and Aja. Aja means unborn. Another important point is stated here. Sattvenang Shena. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he brings with him all his paraphernalia in Vaikuntha. Therefore his name, his form, his quality, his paraphernalia, his entourage, all belong to the transcendental world. Real goodness is in the transcendental world. Here in the material world, the quality of goodness is not pure. Goodness may exist, but there must also be some tinges of passion and ignorance. In the spiritual world, the unalloyed quality of goodness prevails. The other quality of goodness is called Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Another name for Shuddha Sattva is Vasudev, because God is born from Vasudev. Another meaning is when one is purely situated in the quality of goodness, he can understand the form, name, quality, paraphernalia, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Angshena also indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appeared as Kapila Deva in a portion of his portion. God expands as either Kala or as Angsha. Angsha means direct expansion, and Kala means expansion of the expansion. There is no difference between the expansion of the expansion, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, as there is no difference between one candle and another. But still, the candle from which the others are lit is called the original. Krishna, therefore, is called the Parabrahman, or the ultimate Godhead, and cause of all causes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Shalakaya Chakshunun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So all this about expansion is very detailed, explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Adi Leela we find a description of how Krishna expands in so many different forms. Generally how he comes to the point of creating the material world, Krishna expands into Balaram, who is identical except for the external appearance. There's no difference. Then Balaram expands into Sankarshan, in Mahasankarshan, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, and Mahavishnu creates all the universes and then the living entities, and Brahma appears from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. So they are all connected, and here it is said that Kapila is a portion of a portion, Angsha, Angshena. So although there's some difference, there's no difference, which is the fantastic philosophy of Achintya Beda Abeda. It's not easy to understand, but it's not so difficult to understand. A candle, this is also in Brahma Samhita the example, therefore Prabhupada quotes it here. Perfect example. We have the experience. You can have one candle. Let's say we have a whole box full of candles, and you start to light one after another. You have 100 or 1,000, or you can have 10,000 candles. They all have the same light, but one is the original. And with Krishna's expansions, yes, they have the same light, but there's a slight difference. If we say Krishna has 100% qualities, then what it comes as an expansion has, like the Narayanas, I think we can say, Prabhupada said 96. Well, there's 4 qualities Krishna only has. You know that, right? And nobody else has. Like what? His, extraordinary beauty, Madhurya Rupa. That's the sweet form. Then, that's one. Devotees, Madhurya, the Bhaktas, the Leela. The flute, it's Madhurya Venus, yes, the flute is special, and
pastimes.
Yes, well, so nobody else has that same sweetness. In power, there is no difference, one can say, but there's some aspects that are different. Then we come to Shiva, who is almost the Lord, but he's not exactly the Lord because there's some little ingredients added, just like milk transforms into yogurt by adding some ingredient, and you cannot, it's not the same. It's the same and it's not the same. It's another good example. It's also in the Brahma Samhita, that if you look at the composition, chemically, it comes from the same source, the cow. Actually, the yogurt was milk before, but by some addition, which is in the case of Shiva Tamaguna, it transforms, and so therefore it's different. Then the living entities, they also are expansions of the Lord. Angsha, the same word is used in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, and they can have 78%. And amongst them, there's also difference. Those who are demigods like Brahma, they are jivas. They have 78%, not more, but in a greater degree than us. And we have it in a greater degree than an ant. Because, well, it's covered. So depending on the consciousness, the 78% manifest to a lesser or a greater degree. So, well, Prabhupada's point here, well, the first point is some technical point. We don't know about this person, better not to know the details of an atheist Kapila and his Sankhya system. We can speculate, probably similar to the other speculators, because Prabhupada said all the Western philosophers are essentially Sankhya philosophy. They analyze the material elements. Scientists are typical Sankhya philosophers, and they speculate also like anything. So they try to analyze the material nature and come to certain conclusions. Now Kapila Deva will do this also. We'll find, and it's very interesting, the next chapter is called The Glories of Devotional Service. And we can say the most important chapter, practically, where everything is described about devotional service. And then it seems like he takes a step back. Then the next chapter is Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. And after that, 26, 27, Understanding Material Nature. More about material nature. A lot about material nature. A lot of verses. And after that, he goes again back to devotional service. Instructions of devotional service. And after that, again, more explanation of devotional service. And then he goes back to material nature. Descriptions of fruitive activities. And then the movements of the living entities. And entanglement in fruitive activities. So it's a very interesting sequence of going, like this. And that is all Kapila Deva, the son of Devahuti, the son of Kardama, and his philosophical system is bona fide, and the other one, simply speculating, he's normal Prabhupada calls him an atheist. So, that's one part, and then we have the second part, speaking about goodness and pure goodness, the difference, Shuddha Sattva and Sattva, and one can understand Krishna only in Shuddha Sattva, which is also called Vasudev, which means where God appears. So, that's basically about this. Any questions or comments? Yes, we'll see how do we do today.
Now we're very conscious about that.
Okay.
So much
we save time, there's no translation, so actually we did it twice as long. So we are good so far. So let's see the question.
The question is about the Nitya Siddhas, just like Mother, Shara, and Nanda Maharaj. We see that they never make a mistake. I have heard that they never make mistake to misuse their independence.
No, they don't.
But why does happen with us?
Because we are not like them. They are, anyway, that's a very, one of those topics that, what to say? Well, I cannot say this different. Well, anyway, I'll try to, what I understand, as far as explanation goes in Driva Dharma, these personalities, they come from Balaram. He manifests all the devotees in Vatsalya Rasa and Sakya Rasa, all the cowherd boys, and everything else in the spiritual world. And the gopis come from Srimati Radharani. So there are actually manifestations of you could say the internal energy. They're not jivas like us. They're not ordinary jivas. The ordinary jivas, they make mistakes, and then they have to learn. So, and don't ask me anything more. You just chant and everything will be clear. Because there's a lot of controversy.
Question?
Yeah, sure.
If the Lord has 100%...
I think so. If he has less than that, then who has the rest of it? He must have 100%.
And the living entity have
78.
78%. What is the percent of the persons? 100% is big for the Lord, and what is usually the percent of the normal person?
78. But the degree is, part of it is completely covered. As I said, the ant also has 78%, but you cannot see. Now, when one becomes highly developed, like especially, therefore all devotees and demigods are called devas. They're supposedly manifesting the 78%, and then also in different degrees. Like Brahma, he is manifesting the 78% in a much greater degree than an ordinary human being. But they're both in the category of human beings in one sense. They're form, So, that's what my understanding is. For example, here Prabhupada says Brahma is called Swarat. He's almost, he's not completely, but the same word is used as for Krishna, Swarat, independent. Even in India, because it's the same language, Hindi, when they call about independence, Mahatma Gandhi is called Swaraj, independence. So word is the same. So he's almost independent. Why? Crowder says, because he didn't have to go to school. he didn't even have parents. Normally you have to learn everything from your mother and your father. Otherwise you're completely like an animal. Right? You leave a child without education, becomes like an animal. Or doesn't develop. There are many cases like that. Well, not many, but there are cases. One was a very famous Kaspar Hauser in Germany and maybe in parts of Europe many hundreds of years ago, who, I don't know, just didn't have a family. Maybe the mother left him or whatever. And he grew up amongst animals. So he was like an animal when they found him. Couldn't speak. And there were other cases in more recent history of children who grew up amongst animals, and generally they learn from the animals how to eat and how to move. So they are becoming practically like animals. So Brahma, his knowledge was not depending on a good family and a nice mother and father and a good teacher and going to school. He learned, and we know this from the first verse, in the heart. Krishna is in the heart, so he gave him knowledge within the heart. So we can also receive, and sometimes people think they do, but if you're not qualified, you can't. Like some religious people, their philosophy is that you pray and directly connect to God. That's as far as I know, and they divided from the church into Protestants and Catholics. One of the ingredients of the Protestant church, because I was educated like that, is you don't need saints, you don't need the guru and the sadhus. You have Shastra, and of course you have the spiritual teacher, Jesus, and you have a direct connection. So you pray, yes, of course, why not? It's possible. It's not, Brahma didn't have. He could. But you can, but you have to be very advanced. So generally, it's not the process. You need help, and therefore we are told by Krishna himself, and he gives the example himself, to accept a spiritual master. You can't just sit and meditate and get all knowledge within the heart. That's generally not an option for people.
That's why I understand that if you have pet teachers, you will have this quality. If the teacher is very, very good.
Exactly.
You have
like parents, if you don't have good parents, bad luck. Generally, then there's problems. Dysfunctional family, or one part is missing. Single parent education, very, very prominent nowadays, because, demons want to destroy the family, and they're very expert at it, and they're very successful. All over the world. That's the tendency. Anyway, so it's a whole another subject matter. But then the result is Varna Sankara, really Varna Sankara. More Varna Sankara than the normal Varna Sankara. Already Varna Sankara, because nobody follows the Vedic system. But then there's only one part, or even, who knows, what circumstances. Both have to work, which is another demoniac principle. Don't have the mother be able to be at home. No, everybody has to work, otherwise they can't pay the rent and have a car simultaneously. You can only have one thing or the other. It's like that. In practically all parts. You look anywhere in the Western civilization. So then children have to be during the day with somebody else. In some place. Kindergarten. Anyway, so if you don't have a good education, a good teacher, bad luck. Because you're dependent. We are dependent. We can't by ourselves. Some, again, very advanced, they may be even learning something like an instrument. There are some who are autodidact. They teach themselves. And they can do it. But not everybody. Normally not. Normally not. Even there's some very, very rare cases. Somebody can become a doctor like that. But generally they're called quacks and they're not accepted. You have to have a teacher who is qualified at the exam and you get a certificate. But there are who really, because they're very serious and very expert, just by, getting the information, and then who knows how they practice, maybe in some animals or, they have to have some practice. So then they're actually sometimes better than the so-called university educated doctor. But it's 1 in a million, so don't imitate. And it's not the way. So this idea of we don't need teacher, we don't need guru, we don't need, saints, we don't need, we can just direct. We call it, it's not the way. There is some possibility like Brahma, but generally not. That's not the way.
And if we have a good teacher,
well, then you have to become a good student, because otherwise it's also useless. You may have a good teacher, but a lazy student, what can the teacher do? It's no effect. It's like Prabhupada compares it, and it's very easy to understand. Like you have two men and women who want to have a child. If one of the two doesn't function properly, then no way. There's no result. So, yeah.
And we were very fortunate that our Guru,
there's always available. That's another, great advantage nowadays. In the past, it wasn't like that. When you were not in the presence of the teacher, how can you learn? You have to find somebody. You have to live with the person, which today is not absolutely necessary. We have books, but only books also is not, we need connection, yes. Yeah, so the system is very scientific and it's also natural. We know by our life, it's like that. Normally just book knowledge, you cannot become a doctor just by reading books. Or lawyer, whatever, Prabhupada gives these examples. You will not be accepted. You have to have an authority, which would train you and examines you and then gives a kind of, certified. No, it's certified. Anything, practically. Even installing electricity. Yeah, you have to, if you may be expert and you know how to do it and you can do it. But normally, according to the laws, some certified electrician has to come and call, then give you a paper where he said everything is okay. Especially in public places, where there's some danger to others. I mean, if you do it in your home, you can say it's your problem, but even there you need it, Otherwise you don't get the certificate to be able to live in the place. And they may, if they want, take you out. You can't live here, it's not certified. Everything is bad. It's dangerous. You switch on something and then we have to take care of the dead body. So therefore we are insisting that this is done right. So there has to be some training, and then it's okay. Otherwise, it's this is not the way. Just to do it on your own and the way I want to do it, and knowledge doesn't come like that. It comes down. You don't, like these philosophers, just thinking and thinking. You can't come to the right conclusion. Maybe if you're lucky, but even then it's Krishna in the heart who inspires you. Otherwise you remain stupid for the rest of your life. Even your so-called great scientist and philosopher. But you don't, because you don't receive the knowledge from the right source. So Sankhya here, we'll see Kapila, he'll explain everything. Because he is the source. He doesn't have to go to school. And we're doing good. So if we stop now, we really have gained a lot of time. He's relentless.
According to the material nature, and can you share your knowledge about the material nature?
Material nature, well, we'll get to this. We'll have enough time to come to the, chapter 26, fundamental principles of material nature. Well, what we know, it's controlled by Krishna, and it's very powerful. And you can't overcome it, unless you surrender to Krishna. That's all I know about material nature. And I think that's sufficient. If you want to know more, you go to the bookstore and get a book about, biology and physics and chemistry, They try, the science that's science. They try to understand material nature. And they have made, you could say, great advancement, atomic knowledge, nanotechnology, electronics, what else, so, yeah, physicists. The whole science is based on that, they're observing, and then they're writing down and making experiments. In the last, when that did it start, you could say the Middle Ages, it started with the great thinkers and investigators of the nature, seeing how many birds are there, how do they flap their wings, No, they study all this, and then the flies, the fruit, how they multiply and what species are there, and ultimately, what for? What's the gain of knowing all the details how a fly moves the wings, Well, then they construct an imitation, an airplane, which of course is not as good. You have to fuel it, and it falls down sometimes. The fly doesn't fall down. And they can fly in ways and land, and an airplane cannot do it. So it's a very gross material imitation fly to fly. We want to fly, But so what for? We study material nature. Ultimately, it's because we want to exploit it for our enjoyment. Even if you are talking about nature itself, like agriculture, let's find out how we can add something so it grows twice as fast and twice as big. But finally, it's nature's way. You try to make some adjustments, and it's always backfires. No, that's not true. You want to have the soil produce more than it produces. So what do you do? Fertilizer. And then what happens? Generally, I'm not an expert. You take so much out of the earth that the earth becomes depleted. Right? It's not a natural process of regeneration. You eliminate all the worms and all the little insects that do the natural work in the earth. And generally, after some years, you have to leave the earth, don't put anything, so it becomes, oxygen or whatever they need. The plants that little grow, they go inside and decompose. And no, we don't want that. We want every year, twice as much, and 3 times and 4 times if possible. So you take out, and then suddenly it's just practically like sand. There's nothing. And you start to grow anything, it's quite a little plant, and that's it. It doesn't grow more because there's nothing to eat. Like you have to give something to eat But actually it should be in the earth. But we are so intelligent, we want the benefit, immediate benefit of crop twice as much, because it's more money. And then after some time the earth is useless. Well, we go to another place, just leave that earth, then we go to the forest and cut all the trees to make more earth. That's what they do in the Amazon jungle. Soy, beans, big profit, because we tell people you should drink soy milk, and we'll produce tons of soy milk, cut all the animals, the cows, and no milk from cows because it's bad. And to get the soy milk, we'll cut all the trees in the Amazon to make big fields of soybean production. I mean, it's a very gross and not, detailed description, but basically this mentality, exploiting material nature, that's ultimately cause of a lot of suffering. So we should understand material nature, but from the right source, not by speculation and thinking we can improve it with our brain power, make it better. Nothing is, how can you make it better? It's already perfectly designed. But we think, make it better. Like they had, yes, we invent something like cars, and then it happens, and then in Delhi is a perfect example. It was Hastinapur, a very long time ago, the city of the elephants. Now there's practically no more elephants in Hastinapur. It has become Karinapur, full of cars. And when I first came to India, 75, it was like when I first came to Spain. It was like completely different country. Maybe one car every 5 minutes, Something like that. I mean, it was much different. Now, so many years later, because they call it advancement, everybody can have a car. Tata produces this small car, which is like 3,000 euro. You can buy it. Which even in India, something like, 3x7, maybe 21 lakhs, or it's practically nothing, So therefore now, every year there are so many hundreds and thousands of cars more, just multiplying. Then the pollution becomes so bad sometimes that they cannot breathe. And then they want to invent, and they did try it, a kind of cannon to shoot what they wanted to do, shoot something in the air to capture the contamination and have it drop on the earth. I mean, some crazy, and it didn't work. They tried it. It was like really hilarious, They had a kind of cannon, a big thing like this in the streets of Delhi, shooting something in the air. I think it was some spray or water, just to so all the dust particles would be captured and then go down. It didn't happen. But that's, now you have all this, then they have this problem. Then you try to solve it with something else, which probably creates more problem. And it's like an endless, thing like that. And it's all because we don't accept the proper authority. And we think we can make things just, do this and that and play around with it. And then it's like who you call it, the story of Merlin, the magician. It's a Walt Disney movie. He's a magician and he has an assistant. And the assistant, he, finds out what the mantra is to do certain things. Like, for example, because he had to clean and he wanted the bucket, get the water by himself, and the broom to move by itself. Lazy. He was just, said, why should I do it? If there's some magic, I just sit back, enjoy life, and let the broom and the bucket work by themselves. So he did. He remembered the formula, the mantra, you could say, and then the bucket started to move and go to the well, fill up with water, and the broom started to go, a really entertaining movie, you should see it. Because I have children, I had children, now they go. We looked at that. And it was fantastic. So, but then what happened? He forgot the mantra to stop it. So the bucket was bringing more and more water. So the whole place became inundated. The water was rising. He was desperate, and then the real magician came back and problem solved. So, but that's, they're like children. They play around with material nature. Let's try this, maybe we can do like that. And then, oh, look at this, the bucket is moving by itself. Fantastic. Well, now I have to stop it. Oh, stop it? Why? Yes, because it's inundating. You get this reaction to your inventions, but then you cannot stop it. You have all these cars, now you have all the pollution. How we stop this? No, you can't stop it, it's too late. Now people just die like flies, because, you contaminate the whole thing by all your cars. So, that's how things are. Or, no natural life, therefore you use a lot more water than you actually should, and it doesn't come back. So then whole city, suddenly, like this Cape Town, well, if there's no rain for the next then we all have to leave the city. And we know from the past, whole civilizations moved because there was suddenly no more water shortage. They actually left everything, they left the city, they went to a completely different place, because without water, you cannot live. But that's nature. You're dependent on nature. And we do things in such a way that we are misusing, abusing, and manipulating and exploiting, so the natural flow is interrupted. So then we suffer. So, if you want to know about material nature, it's in the Bhagavatam, but it's actually very simple. You just, according to the laws of nature, you try to live in harmony with the laws. Not against the laws, not trying to change the laws because we don't like this. We make it, try to improve things. It's definitely going to fail. Even, and that's Maya, in the beginning it looks like it's, we are successful. We are getting twice as much, everybody wants more profit. Bigger product. Instead of a small cucumber, normal size, why don't have one twice as big, and maybe square, so it fits better in the boxes. Not, curved. Curved is really bad for transportation and storage. So why not make, cubic potatoes and tomatoes? So then you save space. It's more economic. So probably somebody's working on it. They're working on a lot of things we don't know, and we may better not know what they're working on. And when then they discover something, and then there is the agency to approve it, and who knows, So anyway, so that's my explanation of material nature.
What we should comment, what we do in the greenhouse, we put cow dung in the earth.
That's the right way.
This is very cultural.
That's the right way, that's how it should be. The cows are just walking around. Even the bulls, we may say, they're useless. No, Prabhupada said, they're not useless. They put urine and the dung on the earth, and it's natural fertilizer, perfect. So, but of course we don't think that's the best. We have a better solution. And one that doesn't smell so bad. They think. It actually smells good, Or, because it's a degraded culture, instead of raising cows, they will have pigs and chicken. And when they have their stool, because they also use it, that really smells good. Sometimes we drive and they just put everything on the field and it's like, go faster because it's unbearable. So, there's a difference even amongst the animals. They're all living entities, but the cow is superior to a pig. So Prabhupada said, if you really want to eat meat, eat the meat of a lower animal. because they're not as valuable. Oh no, they're all the same. Actually, pigs are better because like soybean, soy milk is better than cow milk. It's all demoniac. It's all demons. That's all. They don't accept the real knowledge. So, I think we stop here, and today we're really good. We made up half an hour.
I can ask one short question.
Now you spoil it, Now we go until 9:25.
Okay. Stay for this while.
What is it?
It's about, I'm not remember exactly the verse, in Ishopanishad. But they describe those persons which have knowledge about the spiritual and material world. They are good candidate for liberation.
Yes, we should know how the material world works. Otherwise, why would Kapila waste time, we may say, in explaining again and again, a lot of chapters about fundamental principles of material nature, how material nature works, how we are entangled, because we should know how it works and why we are entangled and how to get out of it. You have to know the enemy to be victorious. If you're ignorant, there may be a surprise. So definitely there will be a surprise. Maya will come with a big surprise. And then she's very expert. You thought of a lot of things, but you didn't think of that. So we should know, how it works. Okay. So we are good. We're stopping right there, 5 to 9. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Wow.